And one of my great pleasures is knowing Mr. Bob, especially in Bristol for I think many years, is I also got to meet the mentors. And so these two didn't come from nowhere. And the reason I think that it's important is that it really embodies, I think that it's something that's really quintessentially, I'm going to say Canadian right now, just because I think it's the time for it, but also just quintessentially human. It's about a type of worldview that is curious, that is really interested in passing on that love and that enthusiasm for the natural world to children, and through many mediums, through art, through research, and that it also carries with it a commitment to community, a commitment to trying to protect opportunities for people to see the natural world, protect the natural world itself, and also to give back that sort of reciprocity. And I wanted to just pay tribute to a man called J.R. Diamond, who Bob in Bristol probably wouldn't have met without him. He was an incredible naturalist, a young boy growing up in Ontario. He just had an intense love of the natural world. He trained as a scientist, but he also recognized this beautiful quotations of J.R. Diamond that said, you know, our appreciation of the natural world should be both scientific and aesthetic. And if I think about these two men, what an incredible combination of scientific and aesthetic. Both of them in their filmmaking and their research. It was J.R. Diamond that was the curator of the Royal Ontario Museum in the post-war period. It was his idea to set up the Young Naturalist Club. He'd also been taught by these wonderful Dominion scientists back in the 1920s, who were all these incredible men. Bristol first told me about back in the, when we first met, you always talked about your incredible teachers. They were the scientists that were really the first ecologists. They understood this relationship between all living things and were really informed by spending time in nature. They are also men that had gone through the First World War and were shell-shocked and were just like, nature for them was the sanctuary, it was something that was beautiful, it was something that was spiritual. And they sort of established a tradition of being naturalists, taking young people out and sharing their enthusiasms, and also to remember that there was both the aesthetic and the scientific that we should be approaching the natural world with. And I wanted to just also commemorate both Bob and Bristol, because some of the teachings of their mentors were, you've got to pass it on. And in my lifetime, when I look at my life, how much my life was enriched by these two fellows and their beautiful families and the generations. My kids were taught by both of them. I mean, I can't tell you, like my boys today, they went to the premiere in Vancouver because they so wanted to see and celebrate Bristol. So I think Ronan was videoing the conversation. Felt what a privilege to be able to come and film Bristol and Bob on stage in Vancouver with a sellout standout performance. The two people that probably influenced my kids more than any, but not just my kids, the entire Fulford Elementary and the entire. So this is a tribute to lineages, to mentoring, to the importance of both the natural world and the arts, and to making us really feel fully human. And I think it's also this beautiful, I'm just going to say it, Canadian, not really a jingoist, but whatever it is that produced this tradition, I think it's something that's so important to cherish, and I'm so grateful to Alison for kind of seeing that vein, because the community aspect of all of this is so often forgotten. But and a lot of these men that I'm talking about, they were men But, you know, they were also the first men to invite women into the scientific community, and I want to pay tribute to Bristol and to Ian Cowan, who was also bringing women into this incredible community. So thank you both for being such an inspiration and carrying on the tradition.
Oh my gosh. This is so special. You know, when I'm not a documentary filmmaker. This is my second feature documentary. And the first one was called The Woman Who Loves Giraffes, and it was about Anne Innes Dagg, who was known as the Jane Goodall of giraffes. And making that film was an incredible experience. I had such a strong feeling when I heard about Anne's story that I knew I had to pursue it and make that film. And it was a great experience, but I never wanted to make another documentary because they're really challenging. And then I met Bristol and Bob, and they made me into a lying liar who lies. Because I couldn't, when I met them and heard about this story, I could not make the documentary. It spoke to me so strongly. And one of the most powerful things that I've experienced is talking to people after they see the film and hearing that their story touched them in the same way that it touched me. And that's the most gratifying thing as a filmmaker. So I hope that you guys have the same experience when you see the film. I'm really happy that you came and to, you know, to have spent the last year coming back to Salt Spring Island to film it. I mean, has been incredible. So it's really a highlight to be here today. So thank you all very much for coming.
Everyone enjoy the rest of the reception. A huge thank you to Salt Spring Arts for co-presenting with us. They played a big part in this huge, beautiful spread we have for everyone today. And Bronwyn, did you want to come say hi? No? Sounds good. Perfect. Well, please enjoy everybody, and the show will get started right at 7:30.
The hospitality that Salt Springs Film Festival and Art Spring and all of you have shown is just tremendous. So thank you very much for having us.
You're very welcome. We want to acknowledge that Robert Bateman and Bristol Foster are also here with us. They're going to come up on stage after the film for a Q&A. They are here in the house to see the film. You want to tell us a little bit on how you got involved in this project in the first place? Oh, I should mention, how many people here about 6 years ago watched The Woman Who Loves Giraffes that we showed here at Art Spring? So right here, Alison Reed directed that film as well. We didn't have her as a guest at the time, but if you saw that film, you'll know her work. How did this project come about?
Well, funnily enough, so that film was about a giraffe scientist, pioneering giraffe scientist named Anne Innes Dagg. And Anne happened to be in the same friendship circle as Robert Bateman and Bristol Foster. So they were all at the University of Toronto together back in the 50s. So when I was making The Woman Who Loves Giraffes, I was reaching out to Bristol and to Bob for photographs because Bristol actually co-wrote the book that became known as the Bible on Giraffes. So two Canadians are the world premier giraffe scientists on the planet.
And how many giraffes do we actually have here in Canada?
Not too many wild ones, that's for sure. Bristol's the only wild one. Anyway, yeah. So my partner Cheryl had on her bucket list. She had just always heard about Salt Spring Island and what a magical place it was. And it was a special birthday for her, so we wanted to go somewhere special. So we came to Salt Spring Island, and I knew that Bob and Bristol lived on Salt Spring Island, so I was like, hey guys, do you want to go for coffee? And the next thing I know, we were having a lovely lunch at the Batemans. Bristol and Libby, his wife, were there, and Bob and, of course, Birgit were there. And I started hearing about this film. I saw the film, this adventure, and both of them, I just connected so strongly to both of them, and they're aura and their, you know, their sense of adventure, and they're just, you can just feel the love of this planet, both the, you know, the creatures and the cultures, you know, emanating off them. And it was just, there was just a treasure trove of tools with which to tell this film. I mean, Bristol, when you think about it, Bristol started shooting this film 68 years ago. So like 2/3 of the film is that trip of them traveling around the world. So Bristol, I was kidding with him today, he should have got a co-director credit, Chris.
Royalties.
Yeah, so to have Bristol's film, to have Bob's artwork, to have the diaries that they wrote, and the letters that they wrote back home during that time, and all the film footage that was shot over the decades of them is really, really special. So I feel like I'm a newcomer to the project. I started filming them in 2021, so I've only been on the project 4 years, but it's been a great 4 years.
Well, we're very pleased that you stumbled upon the story and that you brought it to the screen. We're all about to enjoy it, and then we're going to have Alison back here on stage afterwards for a Q&A, along with Bristol Foster and Robert Bateman. We hope you stay with us after the film. Thank you so much again for joining us, and we look forward to talking with you afterwards. If I can ask you. So thank you so much. My first question is for Bristol. You filmed much of this film yourself, and then you preserved the footage for 70 years. Is that correct?
Well, I put it into a Audubon or lecture. So I was all over North America lecturing with the film for Audubon Society.
You lectured with the film with the Audubon Society, so you've used some of this footage in another context.
Yeah, I used to lecture all over North America for Audubon and other environmental groups.
But where did you keep the actual footage? Was it in your basement? Like, what did you do with the actual celluloid all these years?
Oh, the actual film, well, it was a copy. We weren't going to show the copy. We just show the original, and we had to check the. I was the film when it went around the North American cities lecturing, and I checked the projector. Usually it was dirty, and you needed to clean it out, and that paid off because we got very few scratches in the film. And we then later, when we decided to do something with it, we took it to a commercial enterprise, and they looked at the film and they said, well, we can fix a lot there. So they actually, I took it up to Edmonton, and there they had a high-end machine to take out scratches and other things you want to get rid of. And so they improved the film a lot. And it's really back to the way it was supposed to be when it was made. It was so well, I mean, look at the color and the lack of scratches. It's really amazing what they've done to restore it.
It certainly looked great on the big screen. I mean, a 16 millimeter blown up to the big screen, Alison. When you first learned that that Bristol had this archive of material from the 50s, what was your reaction to?
Yeah, it's a filmmaker's dream, isn't it? Yeah. And there's actually, it's funny you bring this up, because there's actually footage of Bristol and Bob going down into Bob's basement and retrieving the film to take it to Edmonton to get digitized. So there's and that was shot by a filmmaker named Bill Weaver, who actually shot the Grizzly Torque restoration, and that whole thing was before my time. So have to give a big thanks to Bill. And actually, can I take a moment? There's so many people to thank for all the riches that are involved in this film. There's been a tremendous amount of help. So Bill's one of them. So I think there's some people in the audience we need to thank here too. Is Robert here? Robert McTavish? Stand up, Robert. Is Kate here? Kate, stand up. David Drake, where are you? Okay, so Robert was he did so many things for us. He lives on Salt Spring Island. He works for the newspaper, probably you all know him, but he was our everything guy. Like, I would call
I would call Robert, and you were our PA, like anything I needed, you were there for us. So thank you, Robert. David has more credits on the film than I do. He scanned slides. You were a set photographer. Again, anytime I need anything, just call David, and you put a tremendous amount of work in. Kate, who you worked for Bob and Birgit, and you're just a wealth of knowledge of everything Bob. And I don't know, the hours that you spent digging things out for us took me up into the storage area. I remember you and I sitting there going through oodles of newspaper articles and photographs, so thank you. And there's two other people who are really, really instrumental. At the beginning of the film, it comes across how important Bob and Bristol's mothers were in their lives. And I would think it's safe to say that the women in your lives continue to play an important role. And I certainly experienced the incredible generosity and warmth of Libby Foster and Birgit Bateman. Birgit, can you stand up, please? Libby has a bad back, so she had to go, but she had seen the film, and yeah, Libby and Birgit both played such a great role in the film, so thank you.
And another woman who I believe is present is Bryony Patton. Is Bryony still with us? Did you want to come up on stage, Bryony? We'd like to join you on stage, Bryony. She's in the film quite a bit, and lost her Salt Spring Nova as well.
Thank you for remembering that. Yeah, Bryony, I interviewed quite a few people for this film, and there's some really great interviews. So what happened was, on Bristol's 90th birthday in 2022 or 2022, I think it was, people were coming from miles around to come to Bristol. So I thought, okay, that's just a great opportunity for me to park and interview people that know Bristol and Bob and start discovering what this story is. And Bryony was one of those people. And your interview was my favorite. No, you really had incredible insight about Bristol and Bob. So thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah.
And thank you for joining us here today, Bryony.
Well, I have a story that I wanted to briefly share because some of you might not know, but if you go to Alison's Art of Adventure's website,
Yeah.
there's all the bits that didn't make it into the film, and they're fabulous. They're just, in fact, I just wish the film had gone on longer and included them. But there's one really beautiful clip that you pulled out of the film, and I just wanted to direct people to it because it's the day that Bristol and Tom Reineken, wonderful biologists that Bristol mentored. Bristol and Tom took me out to the Orford River up in the kind of Knight Inlet in Malcolm territory, and they were trying out these Soviet, what do they call these vision in the night? Night vision. Anyway, they said, okay, we're going to put them on tonight. We're going to go watch bears. And so I said, okay, let's go. So I put on my Soviet night vision and we went down into the Orford River. And suddenly I started looking around. And oh my God, there was 36 grizzlies and black bears wandering around within about 2 feet of us. And I just have to say that whenever you're with Bristol and Bob, because I've been on adventures with Bob too, you have so much fun. You're scared to death, you have so much fun. And you learn so much. So thank you. Go and see the clip.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, so if you go to the artofadventuremovie.com, it's linked to, where the film is playing, our social media, and also this YouTube channel. So Brian is right, there are like 4 or 5 bonus scenes, but we're posting more and more. There are many more scenes my favorite scenes, some of my favorite scenes of the film are not in the film, so it's worth checking out. The film is going to be released theatrically in cinemas on Earth Month, so around Earth Day in,
April.
April, thank you, April of 2026. So yeah, we're hoping a lot more people will get an opportunity to see it.
And speaking of footage that got cut out, do you have a sense of how much you had to work with in total length and how much you had to cut it down? Or
Oh, there's thousands of hours. There really is. I mean, between Bristol shot, I think 30 documentaries, Bristol nature documentaries. So there's all that footage we had to go through. Yeah, and of course there's oodles of footage about Bob over the years. There's lots of footage of you we had to go through, Bob. So I don't even know how many hundreds of hours. No, my editor and I had to go through it, decipher it. Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah.
And you guys premiered the film last month in Vancouver, right? At the Vancouver International Festival. Do you have anything to say about that experience of having a world premiere? It was just early October, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, about a month ago.
Yeah, it was October 5th.
And everybody was in attendance. The people who were in the film were there. Were you there, Brian? In Vancouver?
Yes.
You were there
Yes.
as well?
And my sons were there. One of them was filming the Q&A, which was really exciting for them because they both grew up with Bobby Bristol. Bristol was the first person to show my two boys a backline bone, which is the penis of a walrus. The walrus has a large penis bone, and they will never forget that.
That's a formative experience.
That's funny. Bristol did the same thing with me on one of my early visits. He took me into the bone room and put this big bone in my hand and asked me what it was. And I was guessing for a long time.
But it didn't take long to guess it all.
Actually, and then Bristol pulls out of the rhino skull that he had on his side desk, as people do. You know, you have a rhino skull on your desk. He pulls out this piece of paper and reads the penis poem. Do you remember the penis poem? I've got it recorded on my iPhone, and if it's not posted there right now, it will be shortly. But you have to listen to Bristol's penis poem because it's quite something. What mammal does not have a bone in their penis, Bristol? Just tell us.
Primates.
Of which, are you a primate? I'm just wondering. Monkeys? Yeah?
They don't.
Yeah. Do shrews have a penis bone?
Oh, boy. Probably.
Yes, according to the poem, they do. So Bristol was very sad reading this poem of all the animals that have bones.
I
Penis.
never checked out a shrew. They don't.
This is why documentary films are so educational. You learn a lot. Heather, you have a question from the audience? Right in the front.
I have one. Funnily enough, I was born in Bristol. Just mentioning this to Bristol now, so what an unusual name it is for a person. But I was born near Bristol Zoo, and Bristol Zoo was just up the road from the BBC Wildlife Centre. And I'm wondering if you ever met David Attenborough or any of his crew. Any of you? Did you ever meet him?
The question is whether or not you met David Attenborough.
What's the question again, please?
If you met David Attenborough.
I have not met David Attenborough.
But you have.
Two Attenboroughs, I think we met.
There you have it.
Yes. I wish I had. She certainly is an amazing person.
Another question from the audience or a comment that anybody would like to make for any of our guests?
I love
Question, where is she now? Where is
The Grizzly Torque. The question is what became of the Grizzly Torque and where is it now?
It's up in Iowa or somewhere like that.
It was sold in California, I think you mentioned earlier.
Sold in California, then moved up to Iowa.
Yeah.
Can we see her?
Yeah, We're in touch with the new owner of the Grizzly Torque. So he's a very avid Land Rover collector. And in fact, he's just had the Grizzly Torque on display in Pebble Beach. And it was, considered one of the top 10 expedition vehicles in the world. So lots of people down there were watching it. But a dream of mine is to have it at one of our screenings or, at a museum. So we'll talk about opportunities and hopefully that'll come to be.
We did look into that for tonight. We had this notion that we might have the Grizzly Torque outside in the parking lot. I'm not making this up. We definitely looked into it, but we couldn't afford the insurance. It was going to be a lot.
What was the most exciting day of your journey?
Can I interject some comments, Mike? Except my mic's not alive. Okay, thanks, Allison. I just want to interject before we go any further. A few thank yous to Allison, especially. Thank you for your taste. You're putting together a whole pile of stuff and having it flow beautifully and make a lot of sense. My main thank you would be to Bristol and his dad, the whole Foster tribe. Well, especially Bristol, though. The whole trip was Bristol's idea. And his father, I think it was already implied, was instrumental in helping us financially and with a lot of great letters of introduction. So Bristol has been, next to Birgit, the most important individual. He's why I'm here in British Columbia, because forgive me, I think I always maybe said this, I'm a Toronto boy and grew up in Ontario and had quite a nice property and house. I designed myself there. And Bristol sort of said, if you could be living in paradise, why are you still living in purgatory in Ontario? And so that's the reason that we're here right now. Why live in purgatory where you could live in paradise? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, Ontario, there's probably a lot of Ontario people or former Ontario people in the room. It's got a lot of wonderful things in it as well. But this is where we want to be. This is where Birgit and I and the family and the kids want to be. And so that I'm here largely because of Bristol. So he has been an absolute key figure in my life, including the coat I'm wearing right now. So I want to make sure I got that out, is both Allison and Bristol and his dad and the Foster family. So that
Among many other things, this film is a real tribute to friendship. It's a friendship that's lasted across 8 decades. That you two have remained friends, which has to be unusual. I mean, there can't be too many people who've kept a friendship alive for so long.
is that a question directed at me?
It could be.
Tell us about all your fights. Tell us about all the fights you guys had.
Oh, but I'm quite sure we have never fought. I'm quite sure we've never fought.
That's not what I
I
hear.
certainly can't remember any. He is, to my mind, well, next to Birgit, of course, the easiest person to get along with. I can't even remember any disagreements, but there may have been some, but I can't remember them. So
When I was searching for drama in the film, I asked you this question and you always gave that answer, that you guys didn't fight. And I was like, damn,
no,
we got some drama. But there was one journalist who was very, very persistent when he was interviewing you guys. And he said, come on, there must have been one disagreement at some time. And Bristol piped up and said,
What do we have a fight? Do you remember? Cooking porridge. Porridge, yeah. Bob likes to eat it raw, and I like to cook it. This is Rowan Oats.
Let's call the whole thing off. Heather, do we have more
We
questions?
did. We had a wonderful question here, which was, what was one of the most exciting parts of your trip?
What was one of the most exciting parts of the trip?
Exciting in a pleasurable way or in a frightening way. When those armed guys came in India came that night, all armed, those disturbed men, that was exciting. And it was kind of exciting to have the vehicle roll over as well. But the whole trip was, I think, as I think I might have said in the film, it was just completely pleasurable because we, as I said in the film, we could stay in a place for 5 minutes or 5 hours or 5 days. It was complete freedom and new people to meet and refreshing sights to see, new birds to watch, new subject matter for art or filming. It was certainly one of the most beautiful times of my life for a year and a couple of months.
Heather, do you have another question or comment from the audience?
Anyone else? Oh, yes.
I'm curious about the dead pelts that you caught and saved. Did you end up giving them to the Royal Ontario Museum or somewhere else?
Did we honor these creatures we caught?
Yes, the dead creatures you had.
Well, shrews, mice, possums, and so on. There are lots of creatures. But the little ones, we get a few of them because they're quick to skin, quick to preserve, and something big like a raccoon, a lot more work. So we concentrated on the small things.
They're at the ROM, are they, Briss? You guys, are they at the Royal Ontario Museum, those samples still?
They're at the Royal Ontario Museum, yes, right?
Yeah, we both have specimens in some of the major museums in the world. And I sometimes say, if I go down in history, it'll be through my mice. Because I have mice not only in the Royal Ontario Museum, Chicago Field Museum, the American Museum of Natural History, and the British Museum at South Kensington in London. And your great-great-grandchildren who you haven't met yet will be able to pull out a drawer 100 years from now and see a mouse with a label saying Robert Bateman. So I'll go down in history through my mice.
Well, are there any museums or galleries where your great-grandchildren will see your art?
Pardon?
What about art galleries?
Well, art galleries are a different story. Who knows what might happen in the future of that. I've certainly done a lot of art in my life. Whether I end up in a major art gallery's collection remains to be seen.
How many people were aware of that story about the National Gallery of Canada? That book? Okay, yeah. I was shocked. I didn't know about that. So that was interesting. We'll have to see if that changes. Yeah, it is shocking. You know the one thing about us Canadians, like we Canadians have such amazing, accomplished people, and for some reason, we have been historically reluctant to celebrate these great people that we have, in some ways. But I think that's changing. I think that we're ready.
Popularity in the realm of art directors and music directors and so on, is actually a mark against you. It's is kind of like saying that you absolutely love Lawrence Welk. Lawrence Welk is loved by a lot of people, but many people consider it schlock, and and there's all kinds of art that is I consider to be schlock, and I don't respect, but I'm not going to go into details of who would be in that category. Certainly not the group of seven.
Can I ask if you've been back to Africa and seen parts of your trip, done anything similar again?
Have you been back to Africa, Chris? Have you been back to Africa?
Well, we both have been back to Africa many times, actually. And I've never gone into the museum in Nairobi, for example, to see if the specimens I gave them 20 years before are still there. I think they would be.
I have a question for someone in the audience. We have somebody here who's watched the film twice today, and it's Prem. Prem was here earlier and had a really lovely comment, and then she was so keen on the film she brought her husband and son back to watch it a second time. So Prem, you may be the only person so far who's watched the film twice. I don't know because it's such a new film. Did you want to tell us what you were talking about earlier?
Sure. This film inspired in me and brought back feelings of my early days in Africa. My son was 3 months old, I was 21, and my husband was 24. And when your Jeep or your vehicles got stuck in the mud and made its way through the terrain, I remembered that time. And I wanted to bring my son tonight and his father so we can refresh that feeling and that memory 60 years later. So thank you for the inspiration. Thank you for your story. Thank you about friendship and aging. Your story about art and travel and adventure has brought so much to this day in my life that's going to last a long time.
I understand that the baby you had with you is still with you here tonight? That's your son. You brought him along. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if Martin is still in the audience. Martin, are you still here? Yeah, Martin's dad is in the film, and Martin, the son, another son, is here, and I think it was probably 25 years ago. We actually had a gathering of Bob and Bristol and Eric, the three Stooges. And so Martin came tonight, and Martin would be great if you could speak to Eric's reaction.
Well, the exciting thing for me, Alison was so generous, and she brought the film over to my father's place in Victoria yesterday, and because he's not very mobile at the moment. And I had the privilege of watching him watch the movie, and just how mesmerized he was. It was really lovely to see his experience going back so long. And also fun trying to figure out who's who, because he looked so much like Bob at that time. They had the same haircut. The only thing that helped was that Bob was clean shaven. So, yeah.
I love what Brian had to say in the film, that if I don't want to misquote you, but if you spend enough time in nature, that you inevitably adopt a kind of indigenous perspective. Words to those effect. One of the things we can learn from Indigenous people, of course, is respect for elders, which we see much more in Indigenous communities. I just want to thank Alison so much for making this film and for bringing it home to us here in Salt Spring, and for giving us this opportunity to honor these two elders here in our Salt Spring community. Just one more thing to say. I think in Western culture, we often make the mistake of waiting until somebody has passed before we eulogize them, before we let people, we talk about how important they are. And it's so lovely to have the opportunity to do so while people are still with us. So thank you, Bristol and Bob, for being here tonight. And thank you, Alison, for bringing us the film. And thank you, all of you, for coming.